We see every day how pervasive stereotypical views of masculinity are, and how media and art can reinforce them. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can write new narratives, tell new stories that represent who we are and who we can be. We can share rich portraits that break stereotypes rather than reinforce them. That's why I'm so excited to introduce this next panel. Across 3 movies, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan have taken Hollywood from hashtags Oscars so white to a Best Picture nomination for Black Panther. They honored Oscar Grant's life with Fruitvale Station. They revived a beloved franchise by starting one of their own with Creed. And they forever put an end to the myth that movies made by Black people, starring by Black people, can't be successful. In fact, they can make billions. Please welcome Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan in a conversation moderated by Rashad Robinson.
So we have a couple more minutes, but I want to first, no. I am Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler are coming out in a second to have an incredible conversation with us about narrative and building narrative power and what that looks like. Narrative, yeah. Thank you to the planners for setting me up this way. But I want to first start off by saying why we're having this conversation. Why is narrative so important? Narrative is about the rules and norms of society. What is possible, what is visible, what is invisible. In so many ways, it is about power. Who gets to tell stories and who doesn't get to tell stories? And when our stories are told in full, rich, and creative ways, it has the ability to create empathy, to bring people together, to change people's minds, and to even change policy. Far too often, people see inequality in our country, whether it's poverty or racism or injustice, as unfortunate, almost like a car accident, rather than unjust. And when people see inequality as unfortunate rather than unjust, they work for charity alone instead of justice. They stop at sending water bottles to Flint instead of cleaning up the pipes. They stop at reentry instead of ending mass incarceration. They pat themselves on the back by cleaning up inner city schools instead of changing public education in our country. The stories that we tell and who gets to tell those stories is incredibly important to how we change this country. And so the conversation we're about to have with 2 of the most important, creative, and powerful storytellers is at the heart of what we need to be talking about to change this country. I have the privilege every single day to lead a civil rights organization called Color of Change. Powered by 1.5 million Black folks and their allies of every race, Color of Change works behind the scenes in the entertainment industry and out front across policy around this country to change the rules, because power is about changing the rules. And mistaking our presence or our visibility for our power is how we can sometimes get into harm's way. And so what we want to do is have a conversation simply not just about presence, but about power, about changing the rules, and about making justice real for all of us. So please welcome to the stage Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan.
How y'all doing? Hello? Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So we've got all that in the way. We've got the I love yous. We've got some pictures. I want to jump right into this conversation because we don't have a whole lot of time, and I want to make sure we can dig into a couple of different themes. And the first is, it's Black History Month. And oftentimes in Black History Month, we are told the stories of the pathbreakers, the first, the people who broke ground and changed the country. But in so many ways, conversations about narrative need to not just be about the first, but about how can just everyday people get to live their lives. How Black and brown men and women can just be in society and live. And Fruitvale Station, the first film you all did together, was such an incredible, such an incredible portrait of just the concrete and day-to-day harms of what it means to be Black in America, and the ways in which the benefit of the doubt is not oftentimes extended. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and sort of the path to making that film and what that has meant to you all as we think about Black History Month and as we think about being here in Oakland and Oscar Grant.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think for me, I'm from here, you know, grew up in Oakland and also in Richmond, and and I think Oscar, when Oscar was murdered, it affected me deeply, just like it affected everybody, you know, that was in the Bay Area at that time. It affected folks all over the nation, but I think it affected us the most, you know. And because at that time I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, I was interested in exploring that story in that medium, and I wanted folks to have a chance to be brought in closer proximity to living, you know, 24 hours in a day of a life of a guy like Oscar Grant, you know what I mean, and just kind of seeing that. You know, it's a lot of beauty in our lives. It's a lot of normalcy in our lives, you know, but it's also a lot of pre-existing things that bring a lot of added pressure that's outside of our control. And so for me, that story was just about a young man coming of age, and on a day where he didn't know he was about to lose it all, you know, or like as opposed to having lost, like having it taken away from him, like he did, you know. So that was what it was about, and I was often struck by, you know, how absent those types of portrayals were from the films that I watched coming up. You know, it didn't really match up with my surroundings growing up in Oakland and in Richmond. I didn't see people like my mom, or people like my aunties, or people like my friends, and like people like myself, other Oscars on screen as much. So I kind of felt a duty to try to bring that, you know, as a filmmaker.
I guess for me, not being a writer-director at the time and you know, looking for a project that I was able to actually express myself. You know, I was like really frustrated when, you know, the news broke and I didn't really have too many outlets to express myself. So it just so happened that, you know, I ran across, you know, Coogan and that script, and it was the perfect kind of representation that I was looking for. You know, I didn't really see that many, you know, movies out there that represented somebody that looked like me, and being able to embody that just a day in the life of, you know, something that wasn't, you know, propaganda pushed, that wasn't what the media told me to think of, you know, when they see Black people, you know what I'm saying, on media or, you know, on a television or on a big screen. So it was a portrayal of Oscar's life that was just, this is what it is, take it or leave it, you know? And it was, for me, it was the perfect opportunity for me just to express myself as a young Black man and as an actor.
We've been doing a lot of work around trying to push this idea of tell Black stories, and you could, you know, tell brown stories, tell stories that are authentic, not just taking characters and painting diversity at the end, but making those characters sort of authentic. I'm interested in sort of two questions. One is, just for the young folks in the room, when did you all know that you all wanted to tell stories? And now as folks who are in the industry and building power, what do you look for as you're trying to tell stories? What type of stories do you look at as producers to get behind, to tell, and what do you hope to say through those choices?
I think for me, the first time I realized that I wanted to tell stories, it was an evolution. I think I started out as, you know, just wanting to act, you know, just wanting to be in front of the camera, or, you know, to play characters that that I didn't really see that much on screen or on television. And then as I think right around the time I got on Friday Night Lights and I started, hanging around like other writers and directors that kind of planted that seed of an idea in my head. It was like, you know what, you can create these stories, you can produce these stories, you can write and have more of a ownership stake in what's being told. And I was like, wow, okay, I can produce, okay, I can write, I can help, cultivate these stories. And then I think over time, it just, lobbying my power in front of the screen to get leverage behind the camera, realizing that I had something of value that I could barter and trade off for those opportunities to produce those stories. And I think for me, being I love sci-fi and fantasy. I love, I grew up watching all the, the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potters and all, all those fantasy, films, but I never saw anybody that looked like me. I mean, I imagined it. I still enjoyed the movies. I'm still really big fans, but I always wanted to kind of create and kind of bring our own African and Black mythology to the big screen and to the small screen as much as possible. So those are kind of the projects, along with coming to age stories like Fruitvale Station. But yeah, I got a big sci-fi appetite. So those are kind of stories that I'm really interested in telling.
For me, it's like, coming up out here, we tell stories all the time. You kind of like gotta be a storyteller if you're from the Bay Area, especially if you Black. So like we sit in barbershops and in classrooms. Man, you know what happened was, this jumped off the air and that, boom, boom, boom. So you it's kind of naturally ingrained in you. But the first time it was like a formal thing, I think was I was 17 years old. I was in my first year of college, and I had a professor at St. Mary's College, which was like up the freeway in Moraga. I had a professor there named Rosemary Graham who recommended that I get into writing screenplays after reading an assignment that I did for our class. And as far as projects that I look for, until recently, I've only been, writing and directing. I've started producing other things, and I just look for inspiration. Like I look for ideas that I can't get out of my head. You know what I mean? Like you hear about it and you fall asleep and you wake up the next morning and you're still thinking about it. Or filmmakers that you meet who feel like they have a fire kind of burning inside them. Maybe a fire that you recognize as a creator, and you think that their voice is interesting and the world would be better for hearing from it. So that's kind of how, that's kind of been our guiding principles.
Yeah. So, you all have been working together on projects for years. I like to look at this audience and think about what can be created by seeing all these faces who are coming together here and what they can be building as they work together. My best friend since my late teens is Michael Smith, who runs My Brother's Keeper. And what brotherhood has meant for me, and in a world that oftentimes forces us to be in competition, where the narrative can sometimes be that you can't trust one another. I'm just interested in sort of what has this partnership, this relationship, you all being able to work together and build together meant, and what do you want to say to the folks, young folks out in this room as they're setting the course of their careers about what does it mean to be, in conversation, in movement, building with someone?
I mean, I think, look to your left and look to your right, look behind you, like those are people, those are your peers, they're talented. Get to know them, ask them questions, what they like, what they don't like. You might be aligned with them in a lot of different ways that you never even thought possible. Like technology nowadays allows you guys to go out there and be filmmakers and storytellers with very minimal. You can grab that phone that you're recording, taking pictures on right now and go shoot a short film. You can go shoot a small doc. You can create, you have all the tools that you need to create, but don't always look above you to go collaborate. Look beside you. Build with your peers, build with your friends, because those are the people that when you look up 10, 15 years from now, they're going to be on that next level, and you're going to already have that relationship and that bond there. It's going to make it a lot easier for you guys to collaborate. So I mean, when it comes to me and Coog, it's honestly, people come into your lives for seasons, for certain reasons, and at the moment you don't know how long the person's gonna be alive for anything. And I was like blessed enough to meet this guy at a time in my life where it just made sense. Like if we were in high school together, we grew up together, we would have been best friends at that time. We would have hung out. We're both competitive. We're in sports, and you can still keep that competitive nature with your brothers and your sisters, and still collaborate together. It doesn't mean that, oh, I got to compete. That means I got to win, you got to lose. It's like, nah, let's go be competitive and just try to make the best that's out there, period. You guys are both going to win, So I guess that's our natural approach to it. We're always trying to find things to collaborate. And as an actor, I never really had that. As an actor, you always need other pieces to make art, and I was always looking, or I didn't know I needed that counterpart, and I guess, growing up in the film industry together, I found my counterpart that just made sense. And, he's a brother of mine. Our families are really close. We're from similar places. And, I can't stop bigging him up. He hates compliments, so he's a genius, man. He's so talented, man, bro. He's like, what I'm saying? This the guy right. Yeah, man. No, but he's but that's kind of how we did it, I guess.
I think I think like if you want to be an artist, and not even an artist, like a community organizer, like if you want to build anything that's going to affect people, and anything that'll has a potential of existing long after you gone from this place, you got to do it with other people. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to. That's kind of how the world works. It's how we work as human beings. So I think Mike is 100% right. When he says like look around, find folks who you can relate to, who are like you, and they don't have to necessarily be from similar backgrounds. Like me and Mike lucked up. Mike's from Newark. I'm from out here. They 3,000 miles apart, but they very, very similar, types of places. But, we also have friends who we collaborate with who are from totally different parts of the world, you know what I mean? But we relate in that we love film, you know what I mean? Or we love, we think the world can be better in a certain way, you know what I mean? And are excited about the opportunity to leave our mark, and you find those folks and you get to work, you know what I'm saying? And you grow and you get better and you form relationships, learn things from each other. And I don't know anybody in our industry or in any other industry where that hasn't been the case. You know what I mean? If you go find the best chef in here, you know what I mean? They'll tell you about the sous chef that they worked with, the chef they trained under. You know what I mean? They friends they were in the kitchen with, who they still share recipes and compare things. So that's really what it is find your group, find your collaborators. And look around you. You know what I mean? And that's really where they are. And about the competition aspect of it, I came up playing sports, very competitively, man, and play with a lot of cats from out here that you'll know. Like I grew up with Rashad, you know what I mean? Like I'm buddies with Andre Ward, like what was fortunate about playing sports at that age was that what real competition is. Like when I line up between the hash marks and football, somebody got to win, somebody got to lose, you know what I'm saying? But filmmaking is not like that, you know what I'm saying? It's just totally not. So it might be a couple roles that you're going out for as an actor that, maybe somebody else gets that, but, there'll be more, you know what I mean? And there's no reason why you can't continue to work with people that the industry might want to fake like you're in competition with, you know what I'm saying? And what we found out about the industry from talking to older folks who have been working in it long before us was a lot of false competition. There was a lot of false barriers. People would get in between, certain actors and certain filmmakers and say, hey, man, you maybe shouldn't work with him. They can maybe take your shine, or they can take some capital from you. We kind of found that that's all kind of not true. It's actually more for you if you work together.
And yeah. And another thing you got to remember is what's for you is for you. You can't nobody take that away from you. You can't take that away from nobody else. So just know that your blessings are gonna be your blessings. That's it. So just try to be the best person you could be. Karma's real. Give out to the universe, and it'll conspire to make it happen for you. I really believe that.
They're like those stories that the world tells us, and those are stories that we repeat to ourselves as well and repeat to one another. And all those stories, right, come together at times and shape what we believe and don't believe. And whether it's true or not true, it does have an impact. And that, right, in many ways is part of the narrative. And there's a lot of conversation in Hollywood right now about diversity. And, you know, Michael, a lot of that is about in front of the camera, but I know, Ryan, you'll say that just as much, or it's even worse, looking at statistics behind the camera. If you look at directors and writers, you know, I'm interested from you, Michael, and then I'll have you, Ryan, to jump in too. But Michael, tell me a little bit about what you think in terms of what needs to be done or what can be done to spark more change behind the camera as you're doing more producing.
You know, for me, you know, people always like, you know, look at the, you know, what's the final product, you know, what's on screen. Oh man, I need to see myself, which is extremely important to dream, extremely important for you to see yourselves, you know, in non-stereotypical ways on film and television. I think that's really important. But also when you get in a position of power or you get like a little bit of leverage, to help create opportunities for other people. You know, I think that's really, really important, and it's something I always promised myself that once I got a production company, I would be able to do that. Which is why I'm also really, really excited to announce a partnership with my Brothers Keeper Alliance and the Obama Foundation, and we're starting an outlier fellowship, you know, an internship, you know. So we're gonna, you know, select, you know, certain young, you know, black men, people of color, you know what I'm saying, people from underrepresented groups across the board, and place them in major companies throughout the entertainment industry. So that's something that I'm really, really excited about doing, and it's that type of nepotism, is that type of synergy, is that type of, you know, reaching over and giving opportunity. Now, I still expect that 10,000 hours. Being an outlier is putting 10,000 hours, putting time into your craft and mastering it, you know? So when you do have the opportunities, you're prepared, you know what I'm saying? So the hard work, you can't cut any corners of that. This is a fellowship, so you have to work and you have to earn it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we want to be able to give you, you know, angles and opportunities in places that may not have been available, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that I'm in this position, that we're in this position to kind of like help open those doors a little bit, you know, that's always what I wanted to do. So, yeah, there it is.
Ryan, we are we're here in your home, and I also just think about, you know, when I do think about representation, think about what narrative can do to create an idea of what's possible, give people images that they never imagined, and you help to bring us Wakanda. And I'm just interested in anything you want to say about what's next for the audience here, or anything you can say. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't say anything about anything that's coming next. But what I will say is, how much we appreciated the support that everybody showed the film. Like it you know, nobody saw that coming. You know what I mean? And it meant, you know, it meant the absolute world to us, because if it's not for our audience, you know, it's meaningless. You know what I mean? And you guys gave it that life. You know, out here we believe that like loose lips kind of sink ships sometimes. I can't really talk about what's going on, but I think you guys should know there's folks hard at work to bring y'all something that we could be proud of.
That's enough. Thank you. I wanna end on a final question for you all. You know, I start off by really talking about the difference between presence and power. And you know, in this age of social media, sometimes folks can think the Instagram post is the work, or the tweet is where things started and stopped. And you all, not just through the hours that you have put into your craft, to building your businesses, to creating opportunities for others. But you've also found opportunities to work with my organization, others, to find ways to encourage other folks to be able to have their voice in politics, in culture, in advocacy. And I'm just interested for the folks who are going to go back into their communities as leaders and are going to have an opportunity to bring what they've learned here, to not just talk about what happened, but to be what's going to happen. Advice that you can share, advice that's been helpful to you about what does it mean to walk with your power, to use your power in a way that ensures that all of us move forward together.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, the biggest advice, some of the best advice that I could have for you guys as you going is try to listen to the folks around you that have your best interests at heart, and I would say try to pull from a diverse group. It's my brother's keeper, you know what I mean? But I was just backstage, it's a bunch of women running this thing, you know what I'm saying, and making sure that it's going. It's hard to trust organizations that don't have, that don't look like the world. You know what I mean? Like if it should be it should be gender representation in your camp, and you should be, have your ear open to everybody and every perspective. Still following your heart. You know what I mean? But making sure that you got people around you that'll be honest. Because I think the more successful that you get, if you're fortunate enough to find success, you will find that people stop being as honest with you. You know what I mean? Like Mike can probably tell you how hard it is to get somebody to tell him the truth and the whole truth. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all like the sweater? Be for real. Be for real. You like the sweater?
If y'all don't like it, y'all gotta tell him.
People never say no. They never say no anymore.
I like the sweater. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we good.
But I would say try to build a diverse base for yourselves, and people that got your best interests at heart, people who can be honest with you.
And that's great advice. And I think that another thing is to fail fast. I think fail as quick as you can so you can learn as much as you can and be able to come back stronger and better. I think that's really, really important because people are scared to take risks. You can't really play it safe because you have a lot of people out there that's willing to go the extra mile and take those risks. And if you're not able to kind of, to be on that same wavelength and get to failure as quick as possible, I think you'll be in a much better place. So I guess that's my advice on that aspect.
Ryan, Michael, thank you for being you. Thank you for everything that you all are doing for all of us in this room. And thank you all for everything that you're going to continue to do to build power. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.